It had been a week since she'd figured out how to infiltrate the castle, 3 days after arising in Varese itself. A week since that horrible day when all her plans crumbled around her. A cooling breeze pushed past, bringing with it the spices from the vendors lining the nearby street. Nutmeg, thyme, cumin, lemon verbena. She inhaled deeply, letting the scents clear her sun and wine-addled head. The pealing of bells floated down from one of the neighbouring mountain towns, and in some square of the city, a minstrel band struck up a merry midday tune. Nehemia would have loved this place. That fast, the world slipped, swallowed up by the abyss that now lived within her. Nehemia would never see Wendelin, never wander through the spice market or hear the mountain bells. A dead weight pressed on Kalena's chest. It had seemed like such a perfect plan when she had arrived in Varese. In the hours she'd spent figuring out the royal castle's defences, she'd debated how to find Maeve to learn about the keys. It had all been going smoothly, flawlessly, until that God's damned day when she'd noted how the guards left a hole in their defence in the southern wall every afternoon at 2 o'clock, and grasped how the gate mechanism opened. Until Galan Ashravir had come riding out through those gates, in full view of where she'd been perched on the roof of a nobleman's house. It hadn't been the sight of him, with his olive skin and dark hair, that had stopped her dead. It hadn't been the fact that, even from a distance, she could see his turquoise eyes. Her eyes. The reason she usually wore a hood in the streets. No. It had been the way people cheered. Cheered for him, their prince. Adored him with his dashing smile and his light armour gleaming in the endless sun, as he and the soldiers behind him rode towards the north coast to continue blockade running. Blockade running. The prince, her target, was a goddamned blockade runner against Adolin, and his people loved him for it. She'd trailed the prince and his men through the city, leaping from rooftop to rooftop, and all it would have taken was one arrow through those turquoise eyes, and he would have been dead. But she followed him all the way to the city walls, the cheers growing louder, people tossing flowers, everyone beaming with pride for their perfect prince. She'd reached the city gates just as they opened to let him through, and that's when Galan Ashravir rode off into the sunset, off to war and glory, and to fight for good and freedom. She lingered on that roof until he was a speck in the distance.